So at this point I have done a lot of my band, and if you're following the instructions in the, well, basically with the pattern, you could have actually cut out 2 layers of this fabric and clean finished the top. Because I did the fusing on it, we only just did the 1 layer, well, technically 2 layers, but it's already kind of reinforced in there, as you can see. So what we want to do is we actually are going to have to clean finish all of our edges. So if you're doing the fitting band, there is another video that you could actually follow, and it takes you through some other steps, and it has a slightly different order. But what you want to do is, if you are doing the fitting band, you want to make sure that you basically finish the entire band separate from the cups. So now we're actually going to be sewing the cups into it, because I think we can actually sew the elastic edges over here and across the front all in one stop. If you are going to be using one of the patterns that have the overlay, there will be a separate set of instructions on the order that you want to do the cup and the band in. So pretty much up to this point, the instructions are going to be the same, and you can actually follow all the steps we just did for even the fitting band. But as for right now, we are now working on finishing this raw. So we're going to be sewing these together. And I'm going to probably have to step away to grab some more pins. Oh, actually, my pins are right over here. My daughter actually walked away with my box, with my pin cushion, so I just have this box here. So whenever I start this, and you can see it's going to be a little bit difficult, but I like to pin the beginning and the end right up to the edges. And you kind of need to do this because you've got a concave and a convex curve. Now I would try not to do both cups at the same time, because that's just a little ridiculous. What you can then do is you can line your cup up and find about where, you can just see visually where it's going to line up, and I'm going to stick a pin right here. Now it's very possible that that is not the point it needs to be at, but I try and find the middle and then look to see kind of how the, as you can see, the excess of the cup is distributed. So we're going to basically divide it in half and then come back in here and find the halfway point. So I'm just going to kind of work around with my fingers. So I've got a little bit of bulk here, a little bit of bulk there. I know this is a little bit straighter, it's a little bit more curved, so we could probably work a little bit more of that into the curve. I see that this is looking pretty good. Don't like those pins. Okay, so this one's almost done. Now if you look over here, I have this piece. Remember that elastic piece that we didn't sew? Well, I am actually going to attach that into the band in a moment. So kind of finding the middle like I did on the other side. So I'm lining up my edges together. See, I've got a little bit of fullness in here. But remember, what we're doing is we're going to be stitching it at that 1/4 of an inch. So even though we're lining up the edges, we don't need the edges to match perfectly. We need to match them on this edge perfectly. So I have to get a few more pins in here. There we go. So I think, oh, and you can see right here it's not totally even, so I'm going to stick a couple extra pins down around the curve. And you can take and you can hand baste this in, or you can just go in with the machine. I find it easier when you're sewing it to kind of let the fabric cup around. And if this is your first time sewing this, you might actually want to sew it with a basting stitch with the machine and then go back with the... I've sewn this a few times, so I'm just going to... So you're doing it slowly all around the edges. So you can kind of see it's kind of cupped around my hand, And then as I get closer to it, I see things are going to want to move. You just got to take it real slow. Like I said, I don't like to pin except for when I'm doing this, because I will screw this up if I don't pin. Sometimes it's absolutely necessary to pin, sometimes it is not. Right, I can go double check to see if I've got any pleats. No pleats, and my edges line up beautifully. We're going to come back here and just double check that your seam edges line up. Here I am a little bit off. That might make a difference. That's about an eighth of an inch here. So I think I'll be fine though. But if you do have this will make a difference. So you may want to come in here and actually adjust that. So now I'm going to go and start working on the other cup. And wow, this means my sister is tiny. But she's a runner. I'm not. I can't run just because of I have one leg that's shorter than the other. Actually, not one leg, but I have a hip that's shorter than the other. So it makes running rather difficult and causes a lot of pain. So I don't run. I do other exercise though. But she runs like a lot. She does marathons. So she's all fit in the opposite of me. Okay, remember I'm split in the middle. And I'm just going to take a look over here versus over here. There's actually a little bit too much fullness over there, so I'm just going to scoot that over a bit. Okay. And then I'm going to find the center over here. And then find the center over here. I'm going to take that other pin out. And then I'm just going to keep finding those centers and keep pinning them together. And this takes practice. I know you're like, wow, you can pin that very, very fast. Yes, I can pin this very, very fast. Okay, I'm going to go in here and sew it. I'm just going to go through and look over here, and that looks pretty good. Oh, that's not pretty. Okay, so I'm going to go in, I'm going to fix that. I don't need to do that on camera. Yeah, I see what I did. I did it right at the elastic. So, I will fix that, and then we'll be right back to finish. Okay, so now I actually want to attach the casing. And I could do this in a slightly different order had I done some of the elastics first, but I didn't. So we're going to be sewing it on the cup side right along this edge. So I'm going to be finding it right on the edge of the casing, get that started a hair. I'm going to line this right up to my stitches. So kind of lining that up to the stitch line, but actually sewing it a hair to the inside. And this is why it's important that we have no pleats, or we have everything in there right. because we're going to be doing 2 rows of casing, or 2 rows of stitching on the casing. The first is to attach it, and the second is to secure it. At the one side, so you can see it, it's attached to the cup side, and they'll be folding it down and stitching it. And actually we can do that now. Now some people will actually go to the other side and stitch it, but if you have not sewn a bra before, the chances that you're going to sew through the casing to a point where you cannot put the underwire in could be an issue. So I'm going to go ahead and get this started over here. Now what I'm doing is I'm pulling this fabric over here so you don't end up with any pleats. And I'm doing all mine in black stitches, so if I do make mistakes and it's not straight, then you will see it. Over here you can see that it's overlapping the elastic, which it's supposed to do. This is why we do it in a certain order. And what this also does is this clean finishes the inside of the cup, so there is no seams there. Okay, so to do the other one, we're going to do this the same. And the casing has a little bit of a stretch, so it makes it easy that you can go around your curves. So there's not a right and wrong side, except actually you can see this side has like a little feed part, a little flat part, and this is all brushed. The brush is going to go against your skin, so you're sewing up. I hope my casing's long enough. I think it is. You see, I'm taking this really slowly and making sure that there's nothing underneath this stitch that should not be there. Okay. Then I'm going to take and fold this down. And you can see there's going to be a tiny little bit of overlap right here, but that is fine. I'll still be able to feed my elastics in, or not elastics, my underwires in. Oops. I'm not sewing very straight on this side. Yeah, you can see that. I may want to take that out. Especially with my black stitching. Let's see how terrible it looks. Oh wow, that looks wonderful, as I say sarcastically. Yeah, that's pretty ugly. But this is all ready to now sew the rest of my elastics on. So I'm going to start with sewing my elastic, and then I'm going to line that up to my strap point. So I'm going to go from the strap point to the center back. Now, as we come over here, I'm going to sew over my casing. Now, in my book, I had you actually trim it a little bit short of it. This is fine. It's not too bulky. If it becomes bulky, you can always do that on your next sample. Okay. So we have that there, and then I'm going to take and I'm going to fold that down. So that way your decorative edge, you can see where you've got your casing, it's a little thick. to do this on the other side. And then starting at my center back. Well, not center back, but the back. Now, if you end up having a little peak over here, you can trim that down. Because of the sheer magnitude of the patterns I made, there might be a few little odd shapes here and there. But you can easily trim them down. It's an inconsequential point. It's not that important over there. Okay, I'm going to fold this down and then stitch again. So because of the way I constructed this, because we're going to do elastic across the top over here, we're actually going to have to insert our wires before we can actually finish the elastic. So it's going to be just a little bit tricky. So I'm going to go ahead and get my wires and we will go on from here. Okay, I'm going to just trim down my elastics at the peaks and everywhere. I'll trim down the encasing in just a moment. Okay, now your wires, the colored end goes towards the front. So actually I will go ahead and just trim those down a little bit. I'll trim them off in a moment. So we're going to feed those in the casing. There we go. Because the color goes in the front. Okay, and we want to push them as far to the side as we can. Since we are getting ready to sew over here, it does not give us a lot of room to play. Like I am a little bit shy. I may have sewn something a little bit too wide for my wire, but I can still make it work. Okay, so I'm going to now get my elastic. Okay, we're going to go from one end now. And I'm actually going to be a little bit shy over here, meaning I'm not going to sew it real flush to the edge here. I'm just going to give it a little bit extra because I need to, my wires are ending pretty close here and I don't want to be stitching through my wires. Take and fold this down, and I'm going to basically sew with a zigzag. Oh, I can push that even more. Okay, I can do this. So I push that underwire way down there. This side I also have to do the same thing, push it way over, so that way I'm not going to be sewing. Come on. So we've got our elastics finished for our neckline. And the next thing I'm going to do is I'm going to do my strap. Thanks for watching. If you would like to have more content like this, give me a thumbs up, subscribe, or leave a comment below. Thank you very much.